Welcome to Toastmasters Beta Bay, where we feature speakers from San Francisco to Monterey. My name is Birgit Starmanns, and I will be your host this evening. Tonight, we're lucky enough to have two very accomplished speakers with us today. Both of these speakers have come a long way in terms of winning at various speech contests at different levels within Toastmasters. For those of you not familiar with our format, each of these speakers will be followed by an evaluator. The role of the evaluator is very important because it's that evaluator that provides feedback to each speaker. The evaluator will share with us the objectives for each speech, as well as suggestions for improvement, and of course, feedback on what that speaker did very well. Now, our first speaker recently won first place in the Division E International Speech Contest. We're lucky to have him here today. Alex Hughes, a million miles from Mayberry. A million miles from Mayberry, Alex Hughes. Thank you, Alex.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, when I was 8 years old, I would spend my Saturday mornings lying on the living room floor engrossed in a television show that expired 10 years before I was born. It wasn't even in color. When my friends were watching new shows like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Or The Wonder Twins, I was still immersed in a little town called Mayberry. I can remember the characters today. Sheriff Andy Taylor, Deputy Barney Fife, Gomer Pyle, and of course, Little Opie. In fact, I watched so much of the Andy Griffith Show growing up that eventually adults sat me down and they said, Alex, the real world, it's not going to be like Mayberry. There's no such thing as a town of adults who have all week long to solving simple problems like getting the cat down from Aunt Bee's tree, or fixing the neighbor's broken down Chevy truck. There's certainly no such thing as a sheriff who's willing to put the keys under the mat of the jailhouse in case the town drunk drinks too much and needs a jail cot to sleep on at night. Or who can take the office visits from every quacky couple who has a marriage problem to run by the town sheriff. That world, Alex, they would say, does not exist. Now, I knew they were right, but I didn't care. I was attracted to the simplicity of Mayberry. And while I couldn't articulate it at the time, I was drawn to the notion that our lives could be defined by basic ideas like sacrifice, community, and character. It's the meaning of these ideas that I wish to speak to you about tonight. You see, it has been 31 years since my last Saturday in Mayberry. And when I look at myself today, sadly, I see a man far closer to the one the real world warned I would become than anything resembling Sheriff Andy Taylor. Yes, I have done well for myself, but the ideas of sacrifice, community, and character have been as distant to my life as black and white TV. Somewhere along the way, these ideas got lost, even twisted. Like so many in my generation, my life has become about work and consumption, and not a lot else. But we in our material age have gone too far. We have allowed ourselves to become defined by consumption. In fact, we believe that sacrifice is based on consumption. When we earn, we spend. When we spend, we sacrifice. And when we sacrifice, others gain. We have come to believe that community is based on consumption. Forecasters populate the airwaves every year to speculate whether we as a consuming class will enter the Christmas season with enthusiasm, or whether we will be the Grinch who stole Christmas from everyone else once again. We have even come to believe that character itself is based on consumption. As Americans, we know that we're blessed to be free. But with this freedom, we believe we have the duty to translate it into success. Therefore, we buy successful things. Big homes, fast cars, fancy watches, glitzy handbags, grand dinners. My fellow Toastmasters, this is one side of America. But the little boy on that living room floor on that Saturday morning saw a different side, a more enduring side that runs through Mayberry all the way back to this nation's birth. It is a side where the ideas of sacrifice, community, and character are not based on the consumption of things, but rooted in the building of things. Now, some would say that building and consumption are merely two sides of the same coin. You must build something to consume it. If you consume it, then you can build it again. But that is wrong. Building is not the production of things. Building is the resurrection of things. Building is taking something almost lost and bringing it back to life. Building is the restoration of that broken down Chevy truck. Building is the patching back together of that frayed marriage. Building is the lifting up of that fallen and drunken man. This spirit of building is at this nation's birth. The Constitution was building, the building of freedom. The Emancipation Proclamation was building. I Have a Dream was building. This spirit of building is all around us in the 4th District if you choose to seek it. You can find it in Salinas at Ag Against Hunger, where last year thousands of volunteers picked produce to feed the hungry throughout the western United States. You can find it down the street in Burlingame at the Shelter Network, where last year 300 homeless found a key under the mat. And you can find it in San Francisco at 826 Valencia Street, where every year thousands of disadvantaged children come for one-on-one tutoring to learn how to write the next Mayberry. And yes, you can even find it in the corny symbols of a far-fetched TV show. As Americans, we have the freedom to choose our own definition. We can continue to believe that all it is required of us is that we work and consume and that the magic of the system will take care of the rest. Or we can see ourselves for the builders we are meant to be. We can lift up those who have fallen. We can lift those in Salinas, in Burlingame, in San Francisco, or your community. And if we do, I submit to you, not only will we resurrect the lives of many, including our very own, but we will have discovered what it means to sacrifice, community, and character. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Alex. Stay with us for a minute. Stay with us for a minute.
All I practice.
How long have you been a member of Toastmasters?
For 2 years.
Which club are you a member of?
The San Francisco Toastmasters.
Now, what inspired you to write about Mayberry?
You know, I remembered my grandfather, who was one of these figures who built a lot of things with his hands. He was always working on something, and he was a very strong figure in my life. And, you know, I go to today and I read the newspaper and I read the financial collapse and how much of a consumer culture we've become. And I just felt like we needed to get back to our roots where we define things by the building of things. And I felt like I probably wasn't the very first person to think that way.
Wow, yeah. So what did you do to actually prepare for the speech?
Well, I read the Wall Street Journal and woke up. And then I took a crack at it for a few hours. And then it probably took me 20 to 30 hours to really distill it down into something that would fit within 6.5 minutes.
And the question that I'm sure we're all asking, did you really watch Mayberry as a kid?
Oh, I did.
Okay.
I did.
So it's a truthful story.
It is.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, madam.
Next, we're going to hear from Alex's evaluator, who is also from San Francisco Toastmasters Club. He's the current webmaster and the incoming Vice President of Education, Terry Joyce. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's my pleasure to evaluate Alex Hughes' speech, A Million Miles from Mayberry, tonight. Project number 10 in the book of Competent Communicator program. And all Alex has to do to make that project a success is inspire us. Only that, just inspire us. That's a pretty lofty goal. But after all, it is the culmination of the Competent Communicator program. And by now, Alex has built a very good toolkit of technique to use in delivering a speech. And so as an evaluator, I looked at what are the different tools available to him and how did Alex use them. So let's begin with his use of space. Alex moved comfortably around the space on the stage. He opened up his gestures and used hand gestures quite well to convey meaning and give pace and rhythm to his speech. Vocal variety, I think, first of all, Alex spoke very clearly. In terms of variation in his delivery, I would say there was not a lot of that, and perhaps that's an element that Alex can bring a little more into future speeches. He could show dynamic range, such as dropping down very softly to draw his audience in, and then speaking forcefully when he wants to make a point. Now let's turn our attention to the content of the speech itself. After all, it's supposed to inspire us. For inspiration, I think that Alex looked inside himself. He reached back to childhood for an experience and looked at how his life has progressed and changed. And by being introspective and self-critical, he was able to reach a conclusion that we have to work together to build our communities. And we have to think about our values and see if we can improve ourselves in the way that matters most by building community and working with others. So, were we inspired? I believe we were. And for that, we all owe Alex a bit of gratitude. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Terry. Next, we're going to see a feature film about one of the local Toastmasters clubs, and that will give you a little bit of the flavor of one of the types of clubs that we have here in District 4. The club featured today is Early Risers Toastmasters.
Early Risers has been around since 1958. We are an Early Risers club. We meet at 6:30 in the morning every Tuesday. We are definitely a group of coffee drinkers. Our banner's been around quite a while. It's gotten rather ratty and tattered, and we decided to retire the old banner and replace it with a newer one. We decided to present the retired banner to Bud for all his contributions to the club.
My name is Bud Rubin, and I've been with Early Risers 20 years, I've learned. I've been president and so on in earlier years. And so I'm active in the club as well as attending meetings. The bulk of the speeches I give are on topics that are of interest to me. And so I do the research investigation to learn more about this topic. So it's a learning process as well as a speaking process.
And this club about 3 years ago went through a year of focusing on improving our evaluations. We practiced it, we gave a lot of feedback to the evaluators, we went through one of the advanced modules on evaluations. We very explicitly spent a year focusing on improved evaluations. And the interesting thing is that people learned how to do it, and then when new members came in, they learned from them, and it just changed the culture of the club. We don't do whitewashes anymore. We, by and large, have good evaluations, and that helps people grow faster because they find out how they're being perceived and how they're being heard and how it comes across to other people, which is key to making change. I signed up at a state park and became a docent, and I was terrified that somebody would ask me questions. And I feel a lot better about it. I'm still learning, but I'm a lot more comfortable with the idea somebody might actually ask me a question. Most of the time I can answer it.
I picked the Early Risers because I'm an early riser myself. I have a few other events that go on in the morning from sometimes 5:30 or 7:30, and this worked out really well, and I prefer to do something in the morning as opposed to in the evening. It fits my schedule beautifully. I'm currently transitioning in my career where I'm becoming more into sales as opposed to engineering. And when you're more in sales, you have to present a lot more. If you can conquer public speaking, you can conquer anything.
We laugh a lot. We have a lot of fun. We end with a joke, and after the energy of the meeting and then the laughter of the joke, I think people are all set to go do whatever it is they have to do next in the day.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that segment. Next, we will hear from our second speaker. Our second speaker won second place in the humorous speech contest in Division C last year. We're very lucky to have him with us tonight, Amitabh Mishra, in Praise of Sam. In Praise of Sam, Amitabh Mishra.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Imagine you just finished dead last in a speech competition, and you're really feeling low. In fact, you're feeling lower than a pregnant ant. And at this time, you see a call from a dear friend come on your cell phone. You pick it up, and you tell him what a bad day you had. and this is not happening right, and that didn't go well, and your whole world is coming crashing down. But your friend says one thing. He said, wait 1 second. Remember, you're a champion. Remember, you have a lot of potential. You know what? I believe in you. I think you have what it takes to succeed as a speaker. How would you feel after this conversation? Would you feel your shoulders unslump a little bit? Would you feel a little more cheerful? Of course you would. We all are happy to have a friend like that. In fact, a friend that can empower you like that, that can inspire you like that, is more than a friend. You can call him a mentor. In my life, I'm very fortunate to have a dear friend and a mentor named Sam Brewer. He's actually an engineer by profession. He's about 35 years old. But he's also widely respected and recognized in the field of business education. He works closely with an organization in the Bay Area that provides business education to adults in the form of CDs, books, seminars, and one-on-one mentorship. And in that project, he mentors a number of young men and women. And I am one of his mentees. In the process, I've had a chance to work closely with Sam for the past 3 years or so. And here are 3 things that I've learned from Sam in the way that he impacts and empowers people. 3 simple, positive, but very powerful phrases. Number 1, I believe in you. I believe in you. When I was new in the field of business education, I didn't have any confidence in my ability to lead people. Oh, of course, I was technically good, but in terms of leading people, talking to people, influencing people, I had no confidence in my ability. But every time I talked to Sam, he would always tell me, Amitabh, I believe in you, buddy. I think you have what it takes. In fact, you have a lot of ability that we haven't tapped yet. And I think one day you'll be very successful. And at the end of that conversation, be it face-to-face or on the phone, I would feel good about myself. And little by little, I too began to believe in myself. Number 1, I believe in you. Number 2, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. When I met with a lot of failure and I was close to quitting, Sam would be on the lookout for any improvement in either my work, in my effort, in my attitude, or simply the way that I looked. I remember one time when things were not really working out for me and I was dejected. I just walked into this seminar like this. And then he says, Amitabh, what a fine tie you're wearing. And I go, really? Okay. And it was just a simple red tie. But it was new, and he had noticed. And that comment made my evening. What a nice tie you have. So he took me over to another associate, and he introduced me, saying, you know, Amitabh really dresses well. I think his self-image is really good, and I think he'll make it. I'm proud of Amitabh. Number 2, I'm proud of you. Number 3, thank you. Thank you. How many of you have known leaders who go out of their way to catch people doing wrong? I have. Well, Sam goes out of his way to catch people doing right. And not only that, not only does he personally thank people by name, he also has cute little thank you notes. Hey Joe, you did great last time. I saw how you talked to such and such. Thank you for taking care of the situation. I really appreciate your attitude. And I really like your consistent work ethic. Thank you. Of course, before you think Sam Brewer is a perfect man, he's not. He forgets names, he mispronounces words, and he has the weirdest sense of humor you ever saw. But here is one thing that Sam Brewer does really well. He makes you feel good about yourself. I believe in you. I'm proud of you. And thank you. By using these three positive, simple, but powerful phrases, he's not only achieved great success in his business life, but also he's impacted many people like myself believe in ourselves, believe in our abilities to achieve our potential. Because of him, I believe I can reach my dreams and goals. And for that reason, my friends, Sam Brewer is a hero in my life. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Amitabh.
You're welcome.
Tell us, how long have you been a member of Toastmasters?
In fact, close to 4.5 years.
Great. Which club are you a member of?
I'm part of SAP Toastmasters Club, one of the 2 distinguished clubs, President's Distinguished Clubs.
Great. And that's a cheating question because he's part of my club. So I can ask you about this now. I know that you've been an officer for a while. Could you tell us a little bit about your officer's experience?
Certainly, Birgit. In fact, I have been VP Education for close to 3 years, and I love that role because I get a chance to work closely with new Toastmasters. And as they're introduced into the world or the experience of Toastmasters, they're excited. And I always like that excitement because it keeps me excited. So I love that role.
Now, since you talked about mentoring a little bit, and with that role, are you a mentor to any other members of the club?
In fact, I am, and for a selfish reason as well, because in the Competent Leadership Manual, you get brownie points for being mentor to older members. But I love mentorship anyways.
That's fantastic. So any other ambitions for other offices in Toastmasters?
I have done president in the past, and I'd love to be president again.
Okay, well, we'll keep that in mind for next time.
Thank you, Birgit.
Thanks so much, Amitabh.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to bring up Amitabh's evaluator. Amitabh's evaluator, Denet Lewis, is actually the outgoing Area F2 governor. And he was telling me earlier that he's so excited by the Region 2 conference that he just attended in San Mateo this past weekend that he jumped at the chance to be here on Beta Bay. So I'd like to go ahead and welcome Denet Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcomed guests. Most importantly, Amitabh. Your friend Sam, your mentor, is right. You have what it takes. I can see it in you. You've developed your skills, and you come up here and delivered a wonderful speech. You had me, and I could see the confidence, the way you presented, the way you carried yourself. It came across. Sam was right. Sam saw in you the potential, and I'm happy that I had a chance to hear you. Now, you brought some color into your speech. I love the part where you mentioned the new tie because that suddenly tied in some more senses. And I think you can take your speech even further if you think about the other senses we have. What about feel? Did Sam ever put his hand on your shoulder? Bring us into the feel. Have us feel it. Have us live the moment with you. Also, we had sight, and now I'm telling you to bring in feeling. What about hearing? So bring in all the senses, even smell and taste if you can. Let us live it. Bring us to that situation. So I want you to bring in the other senses and share that with us. I think if you work on that, you can bring your level up even further. Sam saw the potential in you, and I see it too. Now, I did feel that you had a little bit of, when you were walking back and forth, I want to make sure that there's meaning to that. Tell us the one idea that Sam told you, then move with purpose to the other side and tell us the second point. And then when you conclude that, come over and share with us the third point, because I felt that you had a little bit of movement without meaning to it. So tie in some other senses, get movement that has purpose with it. And remember how right your friend is, Sam. And the other thing, I have an action for you. Sam has taught you, but are you teaching someone else? Are you mentoring anyone? I want you to go and mentor someone else. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Denet. We've heard from two fabulous speakers here in District 4. And what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about the Toastmasters organization. It's international, as the name Toastmasters International would of course lead you to believe. We're in over 65 countries. We have over 220,000 members. But what does that really mean to all of us here in District 4, right? District 4 extends from as far north as San Francisco to as far south as Monterey. So we actually cover quite a bit of geographic ground. We have over 200 clubs. And as you could see in the Early Risers profile, each one of those clubs has a different personality. So for example, there are corporate clubs that others can join. There are corporate clubs that are closed. There are also community clubs. There are so many different personalities. I really encourage you to visit some of those clubs so you can find the right one for you. And of course, there's nothing to be said against joining more than one club. I just joined my second one myself. But you might be saying, okay, well, what's in it for me, right? Well, one aspect of Toastmasters is communication skills. Now, I joined myself, even though I was a conference speaker at work, but speaking at 2 conferences a year doesn't really keep up your speaking skills. You really do need to practice them over and over. And having those weekly meetings in an encouraging, supportive environment with feedback, like we heard today from our 2 excellent evaluators, is a way that we all learn and grow. And then there's, of course, the other track of Toastmasters that you might not be aware of. It gives you a chance to develop leadership opportunities. You can lead at the club level. You can lead and be a mentor. You can actually lead at various levels above the club level. We have different areas, districts, etc. So there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of different roles that you can take being part of the Toastmasters organization. Now, where can you find us? Of course, we wouldn't be in Silicon Valley if you couldn't find us on the web. Our website address is www.d4tm.org. Find a club and enjoy the Toastmasters experience. Thank you very much.